Italian wines are incredibly intimidating, and it's best to break it up region by region. So I wanted to go over this case study with you guys, and we're going to start with the Piedmont region and the Langhe. If you don't know me, my name is Marie Slik. I am an award-winning wine educator, sommelier, business owner, and I just try to teach about wine without making it weird. I have a group of students on the School platform, if you are familiar with School, SKOOL. And I have a group of students on there who do more in-depth studies with me, have more access to me, and they ask me a lot of questions. I wanted to share one of these questions with you guys and go over the thought process of what I think about when I hear questions like this. And I think the thought process helps me and everyone learning about wine break it down a bit more, and we can kind of break up wine piece by piece. Wine can be incredibly intimidating. So let me read the question to you. I'll also post it up here. The title is, how do I properly shorten this wine description? I discovered a wine that is right up my alley. I first had it in one of the restaurants here in Geneva. It's the Langhe Bianco Paolo Scavino, and to me, it is to die for. What varietal is this, and how can I order something similar in another restaurant? Let's answer her questions, right? So she asked about varietal, and another word for varietal is just what kind of grapes are used. And the other question, what'd you just say? How can I order something similar? Something similar. So those are the two big questions we're going to answer here. When you see a restaurant on a wine list, and I will show the wine list right here as well, this is what it looks like. Kind of intimidating, kind of a lot going on. A lot of wine bars and restaurants with wine lists will start with the producer first, and that's usually the thing they highlight. This is not beginner friendly. This is not inherent to when most people go to a restaurant. Most people don't ask for wine by the producer. I find that to be a very advanced concept, something I would do, because I know, and now I understand certain regions, certain grapes well enough to go, okay, I'm familiar with the region and the grapes there, but I'm a big fan of this winemaker in particular, very nerdy. And so when you come to a list like this, the best piece of advice I ever got from anyone working in wine was understand every single word that is on the wine list or that is on the label, because it's probably there for a reason. So I'm looking, and the first two words are Paolo. That's how you say that in Italian, Paolo. Paolo Scavino. And you know, it is a little helpful to, I don't know Italian, but at least I know how to fake speaking Italian. It almost feels like you might be making fun of them by, it's just such a sing-songy language. And the more you say Paolo Scavino, they're gonna be like, wow, are you Italian? So I don't mind leaning into it a little bit. It's kind of fun. I feel like I'm in a movie. The first thing we see is Paolo Scavino, and then sorriso. And sorriso is in quotes. Now, why? Why is sorriso in quotes? So sorriso, it means smile in Italian. And this is the name of the cuvée. A cuvée is essentially a blend that the winemaker uses. Usually when winemakers make wine, they have lots of different kinds of grapes being grown there. Sometimes they'll make a wine that's 100% of that one varietal. So if you see something that says Pinot Noir on a bottle, it is likely to be 100% Pinot Noir. But sometimes the winemakers will make blends out of all the grapes that they have, or something they want to try, something more adventurous. So they will usually make a cuvée, and they'll usually name the cuvée. And this one is particularly interesting. It doesn't say it on the list shown on the restaurant, but it is a registered trademark, which I don't see a lot of. But what that tells me is that Paolo Scavino is so confident in this blend and loves the name for this blend that he wanted to legally protect it. So, I mean, that's a statement in itself, in my opinion. He's very proud of this sorriso. I've been yapping for a couple of minutes. We still don't actually really know what the wine tastes like, especially if you're a beginner. These things aren't necessarily very helpful. This doesn't tell you what kind of grapes are in there. It doesn't really spell it out for you. Paolo Scavino doesn't tell you what the wine's gonna taste like. Two biggest indicators of what this wine's gonna taste like are these words: Langhe, Bianco. Langhe Bianco. Now, what the heck is Langhe Bianco? I'm gonna try to draw the worst map of Italy, and you're gonna love it. Here's Valle d'Aosta, and then we'll go into Piedmont, and then we'll kind of go down. You know, Rome is like right there somewhere. And we're gonna make a boot. Oh yeah, sexy. And then Puglia is like over here. And then, you know, Venice is like right here, Milano's over here. We'll round it out in the Dolomites here. And look, bada bing, bada boom, you got Italy, kind of. You know, I put the heel on the wrong side. I'm sorry, Italians. Sexy, better, right? Good God. And then there's like Sicily, looks like that. You know, and then over here we have France. Over here we have Slovenia. The Alps are up here somewhere, and then the Apennines are going to be the other big mountain range. So the Apennines kind of start around Piedmont and go all the way down Italy. Here's the Mediterranean, and here's the Adriatic. And then Langhe, so it's pronounced Langhe, I'm gay, you gay, Langhe, that's how I remember it, is in the Piedmont region, which is right around here. So that is where we are focusing on. And now I do all these topological landmarks because it's actually incredibly important for winemaking. Wine is an agricultural product. It's made of grapes. Grapes are very easily influenced by climate and weather patterns and where they are in the world. And it strongly affects on how the wine is going to taste. So we think about all these factors. We think about, here's this oceanic sea current from the Mediterranean. You think about the Mediterranean, it's like warm and sexy. So you're getting a nice like warm current, ocean current from that. But you also get these colder currents coming from the Alps. You think of the Swiss Alps, it's kind of a cold place, beautiful, but cold. So you kind of have two climates hitting each other here. And then you think about a bunch of mountain ranges. Mountain ranges have peaks and valleys. There's a lot of nooks and crannies. This creates plenty of microclimates. Microclimates are very good in the wine world because if you find the right microclimate where it's kind of a Goldilocks effect, it's just right for this particular grape, you can make some really fabulous wine. Langhe is a region in Piedmont. So if you kind of think about it like this, all these like quality factors for wine are usually in a triangle. So like the lowest quality or the broadest spectrum, Piedmont, Piedmonte, you know, ends with an E, depending on who you are, then Langhe. And then a highest up would be something like Barolo or Barbaresco. And those are really specific. So in general with European wines, the more specific and smaller the region that they're talking about on the label or on the wine list, generally the higher quality the wine is going to be. So Langhe is specific, but not hyper specific. So there is something above and there is something below. They wouldn't call it Piedmont, they call it something like IGT. That's a later lesson. I'm not getting into Italian wine law right now. I don't want to. One thing at a time. We need to answer these questions. So I think the best way to break this down and to answer these two questions, varietal and something similar, is to understand the region itself. Langhe, again, has all these microclimates and they grow certain kind of grapes there because of that. Piedmont means literally foot of the mountain or foot mountain. Pied is foot, monte is mountain. So again, you kind of imagine the Alps on one side, and the Apennines on the other. There's creating all these nooks and crannies. And so as far as white wines go, now this is just something that's either you Google or you memorize it down the road, but it's more well known for red wines. Again, if you hear Barolo or Barbaresco, you would go, those are red wines. But that second word, Bianco, means white. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's a white wine from the Langhe region in Italy. It tells us a lot. So red wines, you'd usually find Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo actually means fog in Italian, and because of the very warm days and cool nights, there's actually a thick fog that goes over the Piedmont range. And as far as white wines grow, you might have heard of a little something called Moscato d'Asti. It's actually a very small town within Piedmont. So if you have a Moscato d'Asti, which just means from Asti in Italian, that would be a very popular white wine that grows there. Cortese is another popular Italian varietal that grows there. Arnice is a popular varietal that grows there. So when you see this, it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you what these freaking grapes are, but at least we can start maybe answering this something similar question. If you like this wine, maybe think about other white wines from the Langhe. Again, Moscato, they come dry too, but they're mostly sweet. Cortese, Arnis are kind of the big boys. But if we actually look at this list, you might have probably already caught this, it's actually written on the menu. So it's actually Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. And you go, hey now, those sound French, and indeed they are. But look how close to France we are. It's like hop, skip, and a jump. The French varietals have sort of bled into every single winemaking region in the world by this point. And so they do also grow, Chardonnay easily grows a lot of places. Sauvignon Blanc grows a lot of places. The one grape they didn't mention in this blend is Viognier, but that's also a French grape. And that also grows at quite a few places as well. So to answer her varietal question, what varietal is this? It is a blend, or the cuvée is made out of, we call that assemblage, which is the fancy French word for like what is in the cuvée, is Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Viognier. For those who care, it doesn't even say the blend percentage. I don't really honestly give a shit about the blend percentage. I'm not a winemaker. It's kind of maybe good to know what the majority of it is, but it doesn't even say on here. But the first one is Chardonnay, so I'd have to assume it's mostly Chardonnay. She didn't describe at all what it tasted like to her, but I have a good bet if she picks a Chardonnay even from around this region in northern Italy, she'd be happy, or a Sauvignon Blanc. You know, if we knew a little bit more about wine too, and we went over here in a place called Alto Adige, we might have a good idea there too. I hope this little breakdown was helpful. If you liked this sort of whiteboard action, please let me know and I'll do more of them. But thank you so much. I hope you learned a little something and you feel a little bit smarter today. Have a good one.